If you're a high achiever or a high performing man, chances are you're probably holding on to a lot of guilt. Guilt for not being enough, not doing enough, not providing enough, not being there enough. Literally the amount of guilt that we may feel as men is endless. And without proper mechanism to remove this guilt, without understanding why this guilt is even there, you could get trapped in a cycle where this guilt continues to steal your peace. Society rewards stoicism, not vulnerability. So instead of facing guilt, you suppress it. And that quiet weight builds into self-doubt, more stress, and loss of connection. A study from Frontiers in Psychology backs this up with a study that shows that when men feel shame, they internalize it and suppress it. This can lead to depression, sadness, and if left unchecked, eventually show up as physical issues. My name is David Haas, and over the past 10 years, I've worked closely with CEOs, founders, fathers, and professionals, helping them break free from these emotional chains that show up as limitations in our life. So if you're ready to finally understand why this guilt exists and how to break free for it from good, you're in the right place. Okay, so let's get into this. So we have guilt, and essentially there are two types of guilt. The first guilt is the guilt of all the bad we did, right? So all the places where we screwed up, where we wronged other people. And the second type of guilt is the guilt for not doing enough, not being enough. And there are two basic mechanisms how to let go of both of these, and let's get into the first one. So the first one is the guilt of all the past that we did. So this is all the bad stuff that we did to other people, all the bad stuff all the mistakes that we make, all the failures that we had. And so the first thing that we have to understand is, why are we constantly thinking about all of these past mistakes? And the answer to this is pretty simple. When you experience emotional pain, and that could be from failing a test, you experience the pain of failure. And now that you've experienced this pain, whatever the pain was, whether it was embarrassment or shame or failure, the mind goes to work to make sure that you never re-experience that pain ever again. It's a protection. The mind's primary function is to protect us. And so the way it has come up with protecting you, if you're here watching this video, is by constantly reminding you of the mistakes of the past so that you don't repeat them. The mind is constantly thinking about all those little mistakes, then the chances is the belief that you won't repeat those same mistakes. But the problem is that in the beginning, this worked. It helped you prevent making mistakes. But as this voice in your head, this repetition, this reminder of how you are persisted, it began to steal your peace. This leads indecision and self-doubt and ends up freezing you. This is why it is a gigantic limitation. So in order to transcend this, the first thing is that if we've wronged somebody else, we have to make amends. And this is why this is a step in AA, as you go make amends. And so you want to do this only in scenarios where it wouldn't make the situation better. We're not looking to do this for our own healing, really. It is also for the healing of the other person. So if you don't feel like making amends is going to help the other person heal, then don't. You can work on letting this go from within. But essentially, all of the karmic connections, all of the karmic ties that we have with other people, we want to make sure that they are broken. And so this has to be done through seeking forgiveness for the wrongs that you have done others. So that's step one. Step two is, didn't involve another person. Let's just say it was failure or embarrassment or shame. We have to begin teaching the mind or showing the mind that we are okay in that pain. And so recognizing that the guilt, this constant reminder of how we are, keeps showing up, that is because we don't want to. The mind is saying, you can't afford, you can't feel, we can't survive if you feel that embarrassment, that failure ever again. And so what we want to show or teach the mind is that, yes, we can be fine here. We're going to be okay in this failure. And the way that you do that is when you catch the mind looking back on your past transgressions, you just want to connect to the pain that you experienced in that past transgression. You just want to connect to, what did it feel like to lose all your money? Oh, that really fucking sucked. And you'll see in that moment, in that turning towards that pain, what you will see is the mind's resistance to feeling that pain. It doesn't want to. It wants to keep you out of that pain by reminding you of how you were. And so if it continues to do that, it believes that you will be protected from this pain. And so what you want to teach the mind is that you are okay in this pain. And you do that by, instead of running from the pain, turning towards the pain. And that pain, the embarrassment of doing something stupid, the failure of going bankrupt, the shame of being caught for cheating on your wife, whatever it is, okay? That emotional pain is what you have to be able to sit in and show the mind that you're okay. Once the mind realizes realizes that you're okay in that pain, then the mechanism that it has been using to protect you will just shut off, right? It's like if you were constantly fearful of getting in the water and never wanted to swim because you thought you were going to drown, but then one day you went and learned how to swim. Well, why would the mind continue to make up reasons why you can't get in the water? It wouldn't, because it no longer needs to protect you from drowning. And this is exactly what we want to do with guilt. The constant replaying of our past mistakes, the reminding ourselves of how much we suck, is a tool to not feel. And if we can show the mind we're okay there, we have to show the mind that we are okay in our past pains. The last piece of this first element of guilt is that we have to move to this place of complete and total acceptance for who we once were. We have to tune into our inner innocence. And so what does that mean, or what does that look like? It's like, and the answer of course is no. Why? Because the baby doesn't know any better. That I did know better. I did know I wasn't supposed to cheat on my wife. I did know I shouldn't have bought that car that led to my bankruptcy. I did know that I shouldn't have partnered with that person because they were a scoundrel and they ended up taking all my money. But the difference is that at an unconscious level, you were unaware of the mechanisms that were creating that behavior. Let's just use a cheating wife example. So let's say you cheated on your wife, and the mechanism that created you to go cheat on your wife was maybe that you needed to feel wanted, you needed to feel good enough, you needed to feel loved, you needed to feel important, you needed to feel like the man. Well, these were all the unconscious mechanisms that led to the behavior of you cheating. So while you knew that cheating was bad, you had no idea of the mechanisms that were leading you to that behavior of cheating. Okay, and so it's like the alcoholic. The alcoholic knows he's not supposed to drink, but he has yet to uncover the subconscious reasonings, the subconscious programs that continue to lead him to drink. All right, and so this is when we begin to tap into our own innocence. We want to tap into like that innocence of the baby. It's like the baby doesn't even know that it's not supposed to shit in its diaper, so it's not even a problem, right? And that's the way we want to see ourselves, as completely innocent. We were this blank slate that got programmed unknowingly, and because of that, we just have to have acceptance and forgiveness for the mistakes that we made, because we essentially just didn't know any better at an unconscious level. So before you can move to that acceptance and that forgiveness, you first have to begin feeling and reconnecting to the pain that you're avoiding through this protection mechanism of constantly repeating your past transgressions. Make sense? Okay, good. Let's move to part two, and the pain of not doing enough. And so we have to recognize that doing is also a protection, right? In doing, we got something out of it. We felt like we were good enough. This goes right back to childhood. You did something good. You cleaned your room. You got approval and praise from your parents. You did well on a test. You did well at sports. You got that approval and their praise. And what they were saying was, wow, you're amazing. And so you began assigning your worth to accomplishments and to doing. And because of that, you had to continuously go out seeking to do in order to feel like you were good enough. And so if you need to add doing something to feel like you're good enough, that means at a deep level, you don't feel like you are good enough. And you're in this constant cycle of trying to do more, to feel like you mean something, like you're important. That's just one element of it. Another element of it is that we have got into this place of competing. And so when I ask people, like especially high achieving men, it's like, who are you competing with? Who are you in competition with? And the answer that they always come up with, and I'll give you a second to answer the question, like, who are you competing with? And the answer that most men always come up with is everybody. And now if you just take a second to sit in the weight of competing with the entire world, it's like you can see how that could lead to an endless cycle of doing, because if you're trying to beat everybody, then you can never take your foot off the gas. And when we get into this cycle, yes, while it has allowed us maybe to build a great business or to move up the ladder in the corporate world or whatever it may be, eventually the inability to relax, to disconnect, becomes the greatest source of our suffering, because we cannot sit still. We can't even sit and watch an hour of Netflix with our wife because we feel like we should be doing more. And part of that is tied to being in competition with the entire world. Another part of it is tied to our sense of worth. What we can then begin doing is recognizing the energy of doing, recognizing that we are feeling this urge to do, right? And this was going to happen mainly in like moments of relaxation, right? You catch yourself thinking about what you should be doing. And when you do that, what you can begin doing is recognizing that this is tied to the feeling of not being worthy. This is tied to the feeling of I'm not good enough because I have to go out and do more in order to feel good enough. And then you could trace that back to those moments in your life where you felt less than, where you felt like you were chosen second, where you felt like mom and dad weren't giving you the attention attention that you needed. And so trauma is defined as something bad that happened to you or not enough good happening to you. And so whichever side of the fence you fall on that, recognizing that doing was your protection from that feeling, okay? And so when you catch yourself wanting to do or feeling guilty for not doing, just turn towards a feeling of not good enough. And what you'll see is that it's not that powerful of a feeling. And in that, you could say, I'm okay here, similar to what we did in part one. I'm okay in the feeling of not good enough. I can handle it. It sucks, but I can handle it. So do I need to go and do a million things in order to feel good enough? No, I'm happy with who I am and where I'm at right now. And so that allows us to unplug. Now, here's the thing. Every time I teach this lesson to my clients, what happens is people think, well, I like being the doer. I like the energy of doing. I like getting shit done. I like accomplishment. And I think I want to like set in stone, and if you have, you're getting a great reward, that we're not doing anything anymore. We are stepping out of the energy of doing. And so someone that is in the energy of doing never stops doing. Their mind is constantly racing with all of the things that they need to or should be doing. And because of that, you can't relax. You can't have any peace. And so this doesn't mean that we are not doing things anymore. It means we are stepping out of the energy and the motivation behind doing, which was the guilt. We're removing that. We're still allowing ourselves to do all of the things that we love doing, but we are no longer doing them from a place of having to or needing to in order to feel something or avoid feeling something, if that makes sense. Now, the amazing thing that happens, and this is what's happened to me over and over, and this is why I, spread this message, is because when you step out of this energy of doing, in that stepping out of it, in the clarity of the mind, because if you think right now, your mind is filled with endless thoughts of doing. And if you could step out of the energy of doing and recognize that you're okay, you're good enough as you are, you don't need to accomplish in order to feel something. You could feel that way from within. The feeling that you're after is not out there, it's already available to you. And when you can recognize that, in that relaxation, in that stepping out of that energy, you are going to gain the clarity that is required for you to do more than you could ever imagine. So when you're in doing, it's like you got your head down and you're just moving forward. You're never taking a step to look at all of the opportunities, all the potential that exists, because you're so wrapped up in the doing. But when you finally forgive yourself and accept yourself and love yourself, and you allow yourself that unplugging, that stepping back, that leaning back in the chair, when you finally allow yourself to do that, you may see all of the opportunities, all of the love, all of the connection, all of whatever it is that you're after. You may see it all around you. And because of that, you will bring those things into your life quicker than the process of doing. And so I think, hopefully I'm making my point here, but in stepping out of the energy of doing, you're going to gain the clarity to do more than you ever thought was possible. That would be the way to wrap it up. So let's just recap here, because I want to give you like real tangible tools that you can use. Step one is to recognize that guilt, the thought of past transgressions or the thoughts of doing or not doing enough, are all protections. The question is, what are they protecting you from feeling? And that's not good enough, that's less than, that's a failure, that's embarrassed, that's shameful. Then you need to turn towards the feeling. We need to train the mind that it no longer needs to protect us from this. We're okay in the pain of being a failure or a loser. And when the mind finally sees that you're okay, when the mind finally understands that you could swim in this guilt, it turns the mechanism off, which is the protection, the noise of the mind. And in that turning off, you are going to get connected to the infinite, to the unlimited potential that exists. And you're going to have everything that you ever wanted, which is the peace, the clarity, the calm. That's what you're really after, the calm that is going to allow you to achieve things beyond your wildest imagination. And this is the power that comes from finally understanding why you are the way you are and the mechanisms that the mind has created to protect you. But those mechanisms have become your greatest limitation. And this is part of breaking free from one of those protections. I hope that video served you. If you like this and you want to stay connected to this content, all I ask is that you hit that subscribe and like button, train the algorithm to see more content just like this, to expand your awareness of who you are and what is limiting you so that you can maximize your potential.